What's up, witches? Here's a look at some bonus behind the scenes footage from this week's episode of the BetterWitch podcast. I think a lot of the folks that follow me have found me through you, and so they're familiar with your journey and familiar with who you are. But for people who might not be, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the start of your magical journey, but specifically how it lines up with the timing of when you started sharing that on the internet. Like, did they
Ooh,
happen at the same time? Were you like,
no,
I'm a witch, where's my camera? Or were
absolutely
you
not.
like, when in that trajectory did sharing yourself on the internet start happening?
That's a really good question. Well,
Thanks.
okay, so my practice and my YouTube journey are
Mm-hmm.
started completely different. Like they both
Mm,
started separately, and it was not a linear timeline where they eventually met up. So I started practicing. I really didn't call myself a practicing witch until shit, I don't know, maybe oh, I forgot. Can I curse on your
yeah, I think
okay.
so.
I
Yeah.
just don't want to like
No,
demonetize you or
I think you asked me that the last time and I was supposed to find out and I never did. But I've
oh,
definitely been cursing and YouTube hasn't said anything yet, so I'm
okay.
going with it.
Great. Wonderful. um so yes. I when I started practicing I was about 12, I want
Mhm.
to say, but I would never dare to call myself a witch. I was still in the time where I was still kind of questioning if I was Christian. And I just, I was kind of going through that whole what do I actually believe? How do I actually think that the universe works?
Mhm.
And started to realize if I did certain things in a very certain way, then I got specific results. And so that was just kind of like, oh, okay, maybe this is just kind of like wear my lucky underwear and this is how things go, right? But
Right.
that's kind of how I viewed it at first, and then it kind of got a little more elaborate as I got older. I When YouTube started, I was very young. I think I was still in middle school or something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And I immediately was just like, what a cool format of like, now I can make video. It's not just watching movies or TV shows. Like, I get to make those. And at the time, it was a lot of skit stuff. And so I convinced my friends to try to make a YouTube video or a YouTube channel. And that never really went anywhere, of course. And I continued to just be fascinated by YouTube in general. And just kind of the format of photography and like telling stories and gaining knowledge and different perspectives through video of just connecting with people all over the world. That's just
Mhm.
really cool.
Mhm.
So, fast forward throughout all of those years from the time I was 12 up until I want to say I was about 19, 20 was when well, I suppose when I was 17, I was like, okay, I think I'm like definitely practicing something that's not Christianity anymore.
Right, right,
Something,
right.
and I can't stop lying to myself. So I started to become familiar with the term witch, but I wouldn't call myself that. And then 1920 is when I was like, yes, I am. And I actually started telling people and like tiptoeing around that and seeing how people would accept that. It went a lot better than I thought it was,
Mm.
thankfully.
Yeah.
And before I was open about practicing, I was still making videos about, like, I was making vlogs still. I was making speed paints because I was sharing a lot of my art online.
Oh,
I
cool.
was making videos on like covering songs or any of like my original songs that I was singing or making. And then
Mhm.
uh, when I was finally super comfortable with telling people that I was open with practicing, one day I think, you know what it was, is I got so many questions because I was on Tumblr.
Oh, shoot, Tumblr.
Yeah, it's coming back, it's been coming
Yeah,
back.
it never left, but
No, yeah, but like
you don't
the
hear about it as much.
popularity and the love for it is coming back,
Yeah.
is what it looks like, especially with the whole thing with Twitter going down. But uh so I was on Tumblr and I had like a page where I would answer witchcraft questions, and I was in
Mm.
that community. And then I got so many questions. I think it was about moon water. And I was like, this is such a basic question that I answer so many times, so I'm just going to make a video about it. And every time somebody asks, I'll just send them that link so that I don't have to say the whole thing over and over. You know, like, it's just a very basic, like, answering all the questions that I usually get about Moonwater.
Right.
And that video took off. Like, I didn't mean it to, but it just, like, suddenly I went from, you know, actually I had like 100 subscribers before that. I was like, hey, yeah,
that's ballin'. Yes.
And then that happened, and I remember I hit 1,000 subscribers in like a few months or something. And maybe that, again, like, that doesn't sound like a lot to most people compared to, like, especially my numbers now, but that's 1,000 people. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
A lot of strangers. And so I made like a get to know me of like 1,000 subscribers or whatever, and then it just kept going. And that's kind of where that met. And I ended up being like, wait, I can continue this and actually continue to share my journey and share what I've learned so far and get deeper into this community that I have always felt so distant and alienated from, or like feeling like it's not reachable for me, just due to, a lot of practitioners are secretive about it. We're not going to just tell people for the most part.
Right.
And a lot of people who are practitioners, it's not like people look like a practitioner for the most part. Like, you can't really like point it out, So, yeah, that helped. And then fast forward even more so, and here I am.
Yeah. I thank you for sharing that. I don't know if I didn't realize or maybe didn't remember that you had started practicing or started, journeying into practicing so young, that you were like 12. And I think I was as well. And I feel like one of the big benefits of where the web is now and like where witchcraft is on the web is that for all the 12-year-olds who are 12 right now, like, they're not going to have to go through what we went through, trying so hard to get information, find other people, and like hopefully not feeling, so alone in their journey. Because that was really that was hard for me when I was 12. Like, I went to a Catholic-ish school. It's not like an official Catholic school, but it was started by two brothers from the Catholic Church. So we had like religion classes and Bible classes, and like you could cut class legitimately for mass. If there was like mass going on in the church next door, you'd be like, oh yeah, it's, the feast day of so-and-so, so I can't be in class today. And they're like, yep, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to every single mass because me and my classmates, we would just go and just like dick around in the pews, and like just not go to class. But it was great having a great excuse to not go. So we're like, yes, we're so into this. We must attend this feast. And so we'd get like our little slip and not have to be in class. But not a lot of witches in general, and definitely not in a Catholic school. And then when I tried to start a coven, and all three classmates joined me. It was a wild time. We made it to like 3 or 4 meetings, and then the headmaster found out, and that was shut down immediately. He was like, "Yeah, clearly you cannot have a coven here." And I was like, "My bad." But it was very lonely. It was like, damn, like I literally cannot find anybody. And when I was 12, it was like about 10 years. Are you 26, 27? So it was like 10 years before you were 12. And so you can imagine where the internet was then and what was available. Like, if you could find meetups or covens online and stuff like that, they were all strictly 18 and over. So there was really nothing out there in terms of finding other people. And I'm just really glad that the 12-year-old me and the 12-year-old you who's out there now is not going to have that problem, because there are folks like yourself making content that's accessible to people, that explains what may seem like really basic, simple things, like how to make moon water, to people for whom that is like a really complicated, far out concept. And I think that's really great on the one hand. And on the other hand, I feel like there are some issues, and they're maybe kind of obvious to people, but
okay, like
yeah. Well, listen, and I have held you for quite a while, so I won't go too far down this hole, but maybe this is something we pick up for a season 2 if you would
yeah.
entertain me, because I would love to talk to you, and I think people would love to hear us both maybe talk about what it is like being just out in the world, not just on the internet, but just in general about our practices. Because I follow a spiritualist on Instagram, and he said it was kind of a controversial post, but he was just like, I'm going to hurt some feelings here, but I need you guys to stop talking about coming out of the broom closet, because you don't even really believe in this shit. You don't believe in witches. You don't believe in magic. You think it's cute. And you're over here willing to piss off your family members, get yourself ostracized in your neighborhood, all of that stuff, because you want to come out of the broom closet, and you're not even, you ain't it, bro. Like, you ain't doing this.
Okay, wait, who is this? I need to.
Waters of the Westgate. His name is John. I will send you his info.
Please do. Yeah, no, that's some hard truth right there.
And it was and I was like, facts. Like, a lot of, folks are worried about carrying the title or being out, or all of that, and it's like, you are still at a point where you're looking at other witches for the validation that this is even real. And maybe worrying about sharing it with the world is not where we need to be if we haven't had that point where we go from, like, I tell people I don't have beliefs as best I can. I'm trying to undo everything that is a belief in my life, because a belief is simply something that I don't know, that I admit that I don't know, but I've decided to just hold a strong conviction in, so much so that I'm willing to maybe harm other people, hate other people, oppress other people. And it's based on nothing, because if I knew it, then it wouldn't be a belief. And I want to know. And if I don't know, I want to admit that I don't know, and then go on that beautiful journey of trying to know. And knowing is not something that I'm going to get by repeating what other people say or write. It comes from experiences. So when people try to come at me when I say I'm a witch, and they hit me with oh, do you believe in witchcraft? Oh, does that mean you don't believe in God? No, I don't believe in witchcraft. I know witchcraft. And I don't believe in God. I know her. And that's where I want you to be.
Fuck yes.
That's where I want y'all to be. So I think,
right there. If you're gonna clip anything and post anything, that shit right there is the shit that you should be clipping and posting, because people are gonna be like, oh my God.
Right. People are either gonna be real butthurt, or maybe they'll understand where I'm coming from, because that's where I want us to get to. And I think that's why I get annoyed by the little questions, that it's not that I'm not cool with you being new on your journey. We all were. I did not wake up one day and was like, I'm the Supreme. I was a 12-year-old with a copy of Teen Witch, doing my best, trying to figure things out. But at some point along that way, I said, I am going to take this seriously enough to do these things that I am reading about and have my own experiences. So they are not things that I repeat from other people, or that I just speculate about, but that I know. That I know because I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've felt it. And so I know it, and I want that for other people. And I think I get a little, like, when they're not there, I'm like, come on. Because it's damn cool. Like, it's amazing when you actually start practicing witchcraft. When magic becomes real in your life, it's freaking amazing.
It's so cool.
You can never go back. It's life-changing. Yeah. And it's way cooler than, like, buying crystals and following people like me. Yeah, I feel like I lately have been saying, like, people talk about, like, oh, my purpose or what have you. Lately, I've been saying it's my mission. Like, I have several missions, and my missions are to achieve these things that certain ancestors have told me, like, I did not get to do. Mm-hmm. And I have gifted you with the tools to be able to do it. And you have been born at this time, under this sun sign, in this era in history, with tools like the internet to be able to do things that I could not do. Yes. And so it is my mission to live that life. And magic is helping me to do that. And I want everybody to feel that. And it's going to require taking that step beyond just consuming information, being a consumer in general, buying all the things and, all of that stuff, and actually having an experience with magic. And that's important because people the other day, this gentleman walked into the shop, and my shop is in a building with other offices, one of which is the local assemblywoman's office, and they were having like a community meeting. And so I guess he was going around to all the offices saying, we're having this community meeting, come share your thoughts on what the community should be doing or programs we should be starting to tackle the issues we have, da 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 da. And he's like looking around, and what are you doing in here? And he was nice enough. And at one point, I mentioned that we offer Reiki classes here, and that I'm a Reiki healer. And he's like, oh, my daughter's a Reiki master out in Long Island. I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. So I'm like, oh, we're kindred spirits, this guy. Nope. He gets to the door and he's about to leave, and I was like, oh, I'll try to slip out and come to your meeting, but like I am my only employee, so I don't know that I'll be able to do that. And at some point I said, well, because I'm a witch or something. The heartiness of the laugh with which he responded. I mean, this man laughed in my face so hard. And this is not the first time someone has heard me say that and have had a chuckle, but I mean, he had a good wow. Santa Claus jolly at this idea. And I was just like,
never mind.
Okay. Not going to be trying to come to your meeting, by the way, because you just laughed in my face. So now we're not cool. But
community who?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but I'm like, that's and that's like one of the better types of reactions that you might get from people. Truly. So, it is a big undertaking to be a witch and to identify as that and be out on the world, whether it's on the World Wide Web or just in the world. Mm-hmm. So know it for sure. Let it show up in your life for real before you get out there telling everybody that you are a witch, because the response is not often what you would like it to be. Let's say that because it just what you would like it to be. So maybe we'll talk about that whole bag.
That's a great topic. We should definitely talk about that next time.
How to be a better out witch. Like what do we consider before we even start telling people that we are? Like, where should we be? So well, maybe. Thank you, witches, for checking out the behind the scenes footage from this week's episode. Tune into YouTube every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for a new episode, and definitely join us right after that episode airs for a Coven-only live Q&A with our guest co-host. And make sure to leave a review of the BetterWitch podcast on your favorite podcast platform. See you next time. Blessed be.